Ladies and gentlemen, it is very, very nice to have you here with us today. My name is Amir and I have the pleasure to moderate this wonderful panel for the next 45 minutes roughly. It is going to focus on the concept of makers culture. We have had a lot of conversations, interviews and panels on technology, on science. Today, right now, we're going to dive deeper into the entrepreneurial side of things, which is a big part of this conference just as much. So how to turn an idea into reality. That's our topic for today, and I'm extremely excited to have the following three panelists with me. They will have the chance to introduce themselves in just a second. You see their names also behind them, written there with all their titles. We had the chance to get to know each other over the past few days already, and we had very insightful conversations, and that's why I would say let's kick things off. And we're going to do this not with the regular question of who are you and what do you do. I want to ask you first of all, what makes you passionate about your current profession, job, and the field that you are working in? Who would like to start?
All right, let's go. So what makes me passionate? For me, I'm like a person, you can't put me into a box. When you try to, I will burst it. Every day in my work, I decide what is relevant to me today. Is it business? Is it design? Is it product? Is it strategy? Is it engineering? And this is what excites me. That every day I get to decide what is the most relevant thing to bring my initiative, my product, to bring this passion that drives me, how to bring this to life, how to make this idea happen. And at the same time, we're living in an era where technology evolves so quickly that you're never going to get bored. Actually, you're going to have most likely FOMO, like, am I going to do this? What am I going to explore? And at the same time, you want to follow up on your passion and make your things go real. That means you have to stick with them over a long time, long journeys, and tackle all these challenges on the way. And that's what makes me passionate about it.
Thank you very much. Aravinth?
Yeah, so when you mentioned what makes you passionate in what you do right now, so I have two versions of me, one as a social entrepreneur and one as a tech entrepreneur. But I would call myself more of a social entrepreneur. So what makes it passionate for me is to solve very fundamental socioeconomic and environmental challenges in places where there are underserved communities in the global south. This makes it a lot of passion for me to empower them to solve their challenges on their own. I don't want to be just spoon feeding them, and I just enable them, create the ecosystem for them to solve their challenges on their own. On the other side, as a tech entrepreneur based in Germany, get to see a lot of cutting edge breakthrough and most of the time that our team is responsible for taking this breakthrough into a product or into industrialization basically from a concept to a reality, and where we have to involve a lot of different disciplines to solve a problem, because we are not doing only one small aspect of solving a problem, but a lot of different things in a physical world. So that makes it more passionate that I have to, in an average in a year, we are working with around 100 clients and 40 products. So each of them are different. Someone is in biotech, someone is in nanotech, someone is in space tech. Since I'm in Berlin, so sex toys, sex tech, everything you can find in the ecosystem, that they come up with a certain challenge and we put together all different disciplines to solve that. This is making really passionate for me.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm a founder myself and got myself involved into the whole ecosystem back in Germany which is kind of the epicenter of like the entrepreneurship in Europe. We're one of the largest entrepreneurship centers there, where I work and represent. So what makes me passionate is to share all the knowledge that I have acquired over the years, coming from the sciences into entrepreneurship, into making a product a commercial success. So sharing this with founders is what makes me passionate. Sort of like helping them understand sort of the journey, what they're going through, what they could be going through next, and help them with shortcuts and really trying to get them to the next level. That motivates me a lot, especially when they are thankful or I get some comments of like, yeah, this really helped, and then I see their companies growing and succeeding. For me, that's my passion, and that's what I do. Yeah.
I love that we have three very different answers here right now, and we will lead in perfectly to the first big question, which is about the founder's motivation. You deal with many, many people. You have seen probably hundreds of pitches. You have noticed differences between people that are very passionate about what they do. Probably in our audience, we have a lot of successful entrepreneurs or people that are thinking about starting something that might be in a process right now. So ultimately, the question is, how do you see motivation in other people? And if they didn't have that purpose or entrepreneurial idea yet, how to awaken that motivation? And I would like to start with you, Christian, because I think you are very keen on that early stage process of this starting.
Yeah. To see motivation is, for me, seeing if this person is able to inspire other people. Because you're not able to inspire other people if you're not inspired yourself by your idea. I don't think that's really possible. You can try to fake it, but we will all realize it. And this inspiration all starts by making something, by doing something, not writing a business proposal or making a PowerPoint presentation, but like putting your vision into something tangible, not a marketable product necessarily, or most likely not if you're building something hard and novel. You will most likely not start with something commercially viable from the beginning. But like putting your vision into something that inspires other people, a demo, a prototype, something that then carries on as an idea in other people, and that makes other people spin your idea to the next level. And you being this person who sees that and takes energy from that back, takes inspiration back from what you seeded, and then going this next level yourself. And this is for me like where I see this motivation, that you are inspiring people and get back inspiration, and you can see this process in this person, that this process of inspiration carries them. Because you're going to go through so many valleys, you have to face so many challenges, and this energy needs to come from somewhere. And this is the process for me where I see the energy of the entrepreneurs coming.
Being inspired and putting words into actions. That's what I get from you right now. Would you agree? Do you see something else? Do you focus on something else? Or do you want to expand?
Yes, I think that I completely agree. So, just coming here through that little corridor there into this venue, made me sort of feel like I'm entering into some sort of dreamland, right? And I think that's, if I seeing myself as an entrepreneur, what my passion, what sort of dreams I wanted to fulfill, it all started very early when I started sort of like looking into dreaming what's possible, what's not. So I think that's a really key element to be motivated to do something, to change something, to take action, to build. Later on I learned, you also have to communicate, present, make a business plan, nevertheless, but that essence I think is truly important. And that can be, that can grow in you, or it can be planted by an event like this, by your professors, academics, your peers, your friends, or in these communities, talking to other founders is very inspiring. So for me, I think completely agree. That's an essential part. May I ask a question to the audience real quick? So who here is like sort of thinking of starting an idea or moving an idea forward into reality? Okay, quite a few hands, yes. Who here is like an investor or looking for ideas? All right, a few. And maybe from the industry, visitors, Okay, cool. Great to see. So you see, for the ones that are here for looking for an idea, an inspiration, I think you're at the right place. And coming back to your point, it truly, like, talking and exchanging is super inspiring. So yeah.
Aravinth, let me rephrase the question for you, because you started in the beginning saying that you have social entrepreneurship and tech entrepreneurship. Is there a difference maybe? In regards to the motivation, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think let's say as a social enterprise is operating differently than a mainstream startup. And many of the regions that I work we operate as a social entrepreneur, they are mostly in the global south, in very underserved, underprivileged locations. As a tech entrepreneur operating these companies in Germany, I work with more than 300 deep tech clients directly on their technology, very cutting edge. But rarely I have seen anyone who was motivated because what they are developing is a solution for a problem that they are victim of. Literally no one. People are already pre-made founders and pre-made entrepreneurs, and by a peer pressure, they are starting up something which to solve a problem. Most of the time they always look at the exit as a startup founders. Okay, we want to do this because so-and-so, we found a gap in the market, and we wanted to find a solution and exit. But this is not the case in social entrepreneurship. It's also a form of a small, medium business and started by people. But the people, the entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, are actually the victim of the problem for which they are finding the solution. I can give you some example to understand that. Let's say, go back to the tech entrepreneurship. There also I have met people have some motivation because their mother or their family or friend was affected by something. And then it's a small sector of people in the startup world. One of the example in the startup world, a startup that we work with is developing, the guy is developing a solution for pelvic issues that women have after giving a birth, because he saw that his mother had. These are very rare cases. But when I go to the social entrepreneurship side, 99.9% they are the victims of the problem. So I can give you an example. A girl, very young, from borderline villages, if you know what borderline village in a country like Sri Lanka, is a border at the village at the border of a jungle. So you're always in conflict with the nature. That's the human-wild elephant conflict, especially in a country like Sri Lanka. It may be different in another country. So in Sri Lanka, around 80 people die annually by human-wild elephant conflict. But 400 Sri Lankan or the Asian elephants are killed annually by these people because there is no solution. Because they always have to leave these borderline villages for education, for water, for access and anything. So water is a big thing in those places because there are no wells and all those things, and it's especially like a deep mountainous villages. So a girl around 16-year-old came to us, our incubator, where we are building impact ventures as a social enterprises. She said that she wants to develop a solution to have a filtered high quality water to remove cadmium from water. And at the time, I myself didn't know why there is cadmium in the water. And then she started explaining because of agricultural fertilizers that they go into the ground level, and the groundwater has a cadmium, and there are a few other metallic pollutions in water. And then I said, okay, how are you going to solve this? I mean, there are a lot of water filter solution, this and that, but it's a jungle, you cannot really deploy modern solutions. So she is a victim of that because she has a lot of the people affected by that. She's drinking polluted water. And then she said she has a solution. If you come from South and Southeast Asia, there is a fruit called Java plum. It's a purple fruit. I mean, very aligning to this color. It's a purple fruit, but the nut inside the fruit has a lot of iron oxide particles. So what she did was she found all these Java plum in the nature. She found out there is a iron oxide, and then she was grinding them and making a filter or a biofilter, because these iron oxide particles were exposed. They act like a metallic filter, so that when you put the water, all the metallic components, it's like they're getting stuck to attracted to the filter. And this is what she created. So she is a victim of the problem. She found a solution which is aligning to her nature. And this is why we see the motivation more and more there. And this is one example. Like you asked two things when people don't know what is the motivation and how we help. So we had a boy from a coastal line, and he came and told that he wants to solve the ocean plastic problem. I asked why. He was in his 17, 18-year-old. So we work with founders. They are not pre-made founders. They don't have any formal education. They don't have any other training. It's the first time even these people are working in an official environment. For the first generation in their families. Otherwise, these people were tribal people or in the jungle or in the forest and so on. And he said that he works in a mechanic shop of his father. He's around 19 years old, and so he didn't have any formal education. He said he wants to solve the ocean plastic thing. And he asked why. He doesn't know. He just wanted. So we take them through a certain process involving different disciplines of science and therapies. And we went back in regression, and we found out that he himself didn't remember. When he was small, 8-year-old, he had a puppy. That puppy ate plastic bags in the beach and died. This was a strong motivation that was in his heart all the time that he didn't know. And that is how we are always seeing true motivations and from people who are really want to solve these problems, which I find it a little bit difficult in the other side of the world.
So a strong difference between the two. And I think you wanted to add something to his first example.
But I wanted to say, like, at the end of the day, those people are so driven by this problem that they go right to action, right? Like, this is the thing. But she said, no, I have the solution, like the girl that you talked about. I show you how it's done. And then you see it, and then you are, no, I believe you, I think we can do this. And this is exactly the thing, the gap that you have to and maybe it was not scalable from the beginning, but you saw the vision that it can become reality. And that is the where it connects the two types of motivation that we talk about. Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that you have all seen so many startup pitches that you can now give a lot of good examples, successful examples. But I think in our audience we have not only successful but also failed examples. And sometimes they are actually the most encouraging, motivating. They are the ones that give us an extra portion, an extra drive for the next idea. So let's say there is an idea. How do we make it successful? How do we make sure that it doesn't end up in the 90% big pile of unsuccessful ones? And I think, Leo, you can add a little bit of info to that. How do you validate it? How do you separate between the one with high chances of success?
Yes, I think we also touched on a very important point. So sometimes there are a lot of solutions looking for a problem, or like you have an idea and then, let's try to find where can we apply it. But I think, when the problem is there, is real and is tangible, then it's sort of that's the way to go. What solutions can tackle that problem? Anyone can have ideas, first of all. Executing them is, what makes them real. But then if they are not tackling a problem that brings value to the ecosystem, to people, to your company, prosperity for a community, or tackles one of these important problems affecting someone personally or a group at a certain scale, then it will be very hard for this idea to succeed. You can push it, you can invest, capital in them. We'll see in the later talks, and they can still fail. They can go through all different stages, grow, have a team. A product could be in the market for 3 months and still fail because problem first, then see if there is value of any kind. So that's what I've seen. So a lot of ideas looking for a problem rather than problems to be solved. So yeah, it's always start with a problem, I would say.
Having a real problem to be solved, and not just a fairy tale idea, not just something that you came up with in your sleep thinking, oh, this might be a good idea, this might be a nice idea, but actually validation of the problem.
Yes, I mean, it could be that you just hit the jackpot and say, I have this idea, and suddenly it solves a problem, and suddenly it grows, and suddenly you succeed, and so on and so forth. You know, that happens as well, right? So never stop dreaming, go for your ideas anyway, because, you never know which one is going to succeed. So that's also part of the game, let's say, right? So like have 1, 2, 3 ideas, try to push them. But oftentimes, validation of it will probably be a better indicator for success, and that's what we ask startups, that come to the incubator. Okay, so the first idea is like, okay, I come up with this idea. I don't know. We had an example of a startup thinking of a marketplace for exchanging items that you don't use, like you have a drill or something at home and it's sitting there, you don't use it. To say, yeah, it's a good idea. Like exchanging items that are high value. You purchase them. Why don't you rent it or give it to someone to use? And I say, yeah, okay, great. Say, yeah, I think it's a great idea. No, I think it's a good idea. How do you know whether this is gonna fly? And it's like, yeah, well, I just know. And I was like, you cannot know, right? So like, why don't you validate it? It's like, but how? It's like very simple, ask the person next door, hey, would you like to, pay $5 to use my drill? Maybe, no, yes, okay. Now repeat the process, ask 20 people. And it's that easy. Just ask. Pretend that it's already there and see who's going to buy it or who doesn't want to, and then make the statistics, and that gives you a fair indication of whether the idea is going to be probably taken on.
The importance of validation. Christian, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I think this is exactly step 1. And I think then comes, and you already touched on that, an important exercise on 2 things. Humbleness, to know what you know and what you don't know. This is one of the most difficult tasks for us in general, but for an entrepreneur, it's really critical. The other thing is how to deal with uncertainty, because especially the wilder your innovation is, the further away it is from the status quo, the more you want to disrupt, the more impact you want to have, the more uncertainty you're going to face in this process. And dealing with this uncertainty as an individual, as a team, and as a larger organization is a huge challenge. And this humbleness and this handling this uncertainty is what requires you to constantly reflect, understanding which assumptions you're putting out there, being strategic about generating insights and creating transparency for your partners. Very important, so that your partners believe in your innovation process and that you are also like able to improve on your innovation process because you understand its weaknesses over time. And that you are able to not just pivot on your idea, but also the way you work and when you see it's not working the way we're doing it. I would say like that is then the next step. Like how do you validate an idea then is again, call to action. Ask yourself, what can I do in 10 days? What can I do in 30 days? What is the critical assumptions? And what is the simplest way to eliminate uncertainty? What is the simplest way to build trust with my partners? What is the simplest way also to convince myself that this is still the right strategy to go? And doing this systematically, not just as an individual, but growing and maintaining this capability is a massive challenge, especially for long journeys on things that require big teams.
I like the word humbleness a lot because it paints a bit of a different picture of entrepreneurs. Very often when we think of them, the first intuitive reaction is to think of somebody who is strong-willed, who is overly confident, who might be a little bit aggressive, who might be loud, who pushes his will through. Humbleness brings in a completely different aspects and attitude towards it. So let me ask this question now. Have you come across people with ideas that looked completely promising as it can get, and it did fail? Maybe your own, or maybe from one of your clients. Aravinth, you are a pool of stories here. I'm sure you have one.
There are many reasons why. So I'm going on the startup side, yeah. It's a different world than social enterprises. Yeah, a lot of stories that the startups fail, and one is very attached to this statement of humbleness. I have seen that, including a startup that I had. A lot of the time, the startup failed because of the co-founders. The incompatibility between the co-founder, because we jump on a wagon thinking that each co-founder or many co-founders should be equal, but it's not always equal. They have a different experiences, different expectations, and so on. And one will be always dominant, the one that who has the most experience or confidence will be dominant. And when this agreement, this expectation management is not done well within the team, then it's very wrong. And so there are a lot of other technological, financial reasons, but I find that mostly human reasons company fail. And some companies that we have seen, founders, I don't like this word like company is your family. Company is not your family, right? Even though we say that founder is like marrying to someone, but it's not like living together, A lot of companies, a lot of founders, they spend all the time, even the weekends, they go together in the evenings and do everything together. This is also one of the reasons that we find the conflicts. And because once let's say you're a senior person, let's say your co-founder, one takes a CEO executive position, another takes as a head of engineering or whatever, and then you go out of your working environment, one has to change the role, being cool. And then when they come into the work, even in my organization, I see that my co-directors and they deal with the team, and then the team, when we are confused. Because outside you are like a friend and you're opening up everything, and then you go to a job and you say that, no, this is this. So these are the challenges, as including humbleness is one of the reasons that companies struggle and fail. And when the investors see this clearly, they will ignore them. And currently, one of the startups that I invested and also work for them, did the technology. They had a call like a few days ago, and they said, I had this personal reasons, and then I worked 2 years, and I put all my money and time and this and that, but now I got another thing that I have to take care of it, but I want to keep my shares, because there's really no co-founder agreement was signed, so everyone is equal, right? But this person asked, okay, how can I keep the share? I said, and the investors asked, okay, what is happening with your co-founder? Co-founder, you cannot say that, I have done that already, but I want to be a passive person. They will immediately say, we are not going to invest in this company. So they see the team struggle as one of the red flag.
So you focus a lot on the human side. That is, according to you, very often the main reason for failure. Leo, I saw a little bit of a reaction there. Do you agree?
Yes, I think humbleness at the personal level, it's important, especially when you have to deal with your team, with your co-founders, with investors, etc. You have to be transparent, as we say. But I think it's also important to be humble with the feedback or the timing. Like sometimes, especially here, like deep tech, right? We see like all these deep technologies, like really looking into the future, and the founders and the creators, are very proud, probably scientists or engineers. They work on it for a long time. So there is sometimes this ego of I know it all because I built it, because I know what's needed. And yes, from the scientific perspective, perhaps in the lab or like the future really needs this, because we need to get rid of pollutants, we need new communication technologies, etc. So we need them definitely there, but we have to be humble that sometimes the timing is not always right for these things to happen. We all want a quantum computer today, but it takes time, so be humble. You can fundraise already. Maybe I picked the wrong example because that is happening today, or it's happening now. But like any other technology could also be like, no, this is it. It's gonna work. Yes, but if it's gonna take 10, 20 years, and then you didn't time that, and you just be, were let's say arrogant enough to say no, I will. It has to happen. Then I would say also humbleness on what the world has to tell you. It's also very important, because timing could then end up in failure. So that's what I wanted to kind of add.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So now that we have slid into the idea, the concepts, the aspects of humans, working together. Ultimately, entrepreneurs, companies, they come together. It's rarely just a single person. So what would you say were your recipes for success in getting along with others, no matter if you see them as your family or as your partners or as your co-founders? Sometimes the idea is so big that you have large departments, groups working together. How is this collaboration, especially in the early stages, not getting out of control, not getting competitive, but actually working towards one goal?
I recently was on a project in education, and we worked together as a group of designers, engineers, cognitive scientists, product managers, business people. And when I mean scientists, I mean really scientists, people who write papers and are absolutely amazing at their craft. Making these people's work shine is only possible when everybody highly respects each other. That is the most important. That's the base of everything. That's out of question. I think it's a no-brainer almost. But like, the next thing is that you show this respect to others constantly by embracing their ideas, and your reflex should always be yes. When somebody puts in a suggestion, of course be a critical thinker, but just because you don't understand it yet, you must always assume in like these multidisciplinary environments that you might not have the full context, and you say, yes, tell me more, right? Tell me more, explain it to me. And this listening to each other, active listening, inquiring, really understanding the other, reflecting back to until this point where the other person said, like, now you really understood what I tried to tell you, right? And like, especially the more specialization is involved, the more important it is that you are open to learn something from others. And this then ties back to the inspiration, that you have this one thing that you work towards that everybody understands. This is our common goal. This is our common vision. There's no confusion about it. And we also know all together where we're standing now. There's no confusion on which stage of innovation we are in. So one is not like looking at commercialization while the other one is, no, we're still doing the groundwork here. There must be agreement where you're standing in the process. It's very, very important. The vision must be clear. Everybody must agree on it, and everybody must commit and believe to what you're doing right now. This is a huge challenge for leadership, but it all starts with who you're bringing into the team. That is my experience. And I had fantastic interdisciplinary teams to work with. And I also came into places talking about failure where that was not the case. Where you immediately realized it's a competitive environment and everybody's battling to get their perspective, like to be on the agenda. In these environments, you will not innovate. In these environments, you cannot learn properly. And if you can't learn, you will not make progress in the time necessary to be competitive.
What you just said, I would consider in the arts, there is this spontaneous theater game based on the idea of yes and. Tell me more. Yes and. Yes and. It's a very... Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds a bit fairy tale-like. It sounds like that's the ideal scenario. But like Leo just highlighted, very often people come together and everyone's convinced, I am right, I am... How do we shake that off? How do we say, no, you know what, now I'm not going to be that overly confident. I am going to switch to my humble mode and let the other person be. Aravinth, where do you stand between these two extremes?
I mean, on the startup side, as our company, right, in Germany, set of companies, a group of companies, I have a few hundred members, like staff. So how do we help startups to answer this question is actually, I think, like Christian also mentioned, because we are hands-on, we are not consulting company, we do hands-on engineering, manufacturing, design, and all those things. Very often the client comes with this idea that we know this is what let's say if it's a simple consumer type or something that goes to market easily. I'm not talking about deep tech, which takes years, 10 years or so. They would come and say that, hey, we know that and we want to do this and we are passionate about this. This is one of the mistakes. People should not be passionate about... Their passion should not be in the product, in startup world. It's about the market, right? If the market needs it or not. And then we help them to go through very quick POCs and prototypes and demonstrators, so that they can take these ideas into a physical form and then go with the user-friendly testers, internal or external. Usually they they test it internally with the POC, and the next stage, in the prototype demonstrator stage, which we call, which is half machine-made, POC is handmade. They test it with the recruited, blinded experiments. So one side, these people, they are not part of the company or anything, or the part of the process. In that process, they find out a lot of things which they initially believed is needed. I can give you one example that we had one product, consumer product meant to improve the productivity of people working in a focused work. The client said that they want 6-side displays, 6 sides Qi charging, because they want every time you rotate, they don't want to give start and end to the product. Usually product has a front and back and top and here they don't want that. It's all together seamless. And then we said, it's okay, we build you that in a very quick way, and then you do the internal test and then go for a public testing, a beta, not a beta, like a friendly user testing. Users said that, okay, they don't need 6-side displays, and they don't need 6-side Qi charging or like wireless charging. They need only 1 side is enough, and they want so big. They want something that they can rotate like this in the hand. So all these feedbacks coming from the friendly user tester is helping the startups to take the right informed decision, and we help the startup to go to that stage as a company that enabling startups.
Okay, so we go back. It almost neatly ties in all together. We talked at the beginning about passion, maybe also not the passion of yourself, but the market. We talked about validity of the problem. Now we talked about testing being extremely important for success. If possible, we would like to take a few questions from the audience as well. But before we do so, we have about 10 minutes left. I would ask all three of you to sum up what would be your key lessons. What would you give as your personal advice after so many years of experience to people that are in a process or are thinking about in half a minute?
A prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. Like, this is an old saying that comes from design thinking, and my wife actually is here clapping. She is the one who repeats this on a day-to-day basis. This is, for me, like the core and essential thing. If you can prototype, if you can demo it, if you can model it, if you can pilot it, do it. Right? Think about the art of making prototypes and demos is to make it cheap and fast, not to make it fancy. And to bring across the point that is necessary for the next step. Convincing your investors, convincing your talent, convincing your lead customers, your early adopters. That is the point of demoing, of prototyping, etc. That is my key message.
A prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. Very nice. Leo?
Yes, I would say when you are at the very early stage and you want to take this idea into some sort of reality, think about this, like we can't do it all alone. If you see all these successful startups and companies, they are a team. So from the very, very early stage, think about committing to a team member or a person that could complement what you have. If you are the technologist, find a business person. If you are the business person, find a technologist. If you are a public speaker and like to go and present and do the investors, then do that and find that team and then commit to that team 100%. And that could really accelerate the process of ideas. And then you do the prototyping and then etc. Yeah.
Complementary teams. Fantastic.
Yeah, for me, as you said, for an entrepreneur, that what I can say is the purpose, right? I would say that they should look at the purpose. Because the product, we always say to our clients, if you are a startup, you can call yourself successful on your third product, not in the first. Because you have to iterate, you have to improve. The product can pivot, the idea can pivot. But what is your purpose? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Are you ready to tackle all these challenges and stress and that comes with? So that is what we always we look at. This is for startups. Yeah, I'm talking about the startup perspective. And as they mentioned, the collaboration and go as fast as possible with testing, which is not possible in a very deep tech innovations. It takes 7 years to even to have some POC. And as I said, all that has something to do with the purpose of you and your company and your stakeholders.
I like that. 3 very, very different answers. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are any questions, we have 2 wonderful people that will help us, and I would suggest to collect the questions first, and then you can pick on which one you would like to answer.
Hello, I have 2 questions. Please tell me proportion good ideas and bad ideas in your...
Okay, and the second question?
No, first answer.
No, we would like to collect first so we have a pool of
Okay,
questions.
and why is only 10% of startups are successful?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Can we give the microphone over here as well?
Okay, so hey, first of all, I'm Warifa and she's Sarah. It's okay. And we are both from TKS and we were curious to ask you about this question.
No, ask yours.
Oh, yeah. So could you give us like a 3-word strategy step to make the most effective, more proficient innovation that can literally solve world's big problems, like at least 50%?
Wow, okay. Very easy, yeah?
And yeah, as she said, I'm Sarah from the Knowledge Society. And what I wanted to ask is, what are the most effective strategies to validate an early stage idea and ensure it addresses a real problem before investing time and resources into its development?
Excellent. Well prepared. I like that. And then we have one more question, I think, and that's it.
Hi, this is Rijma Khan from Pakistan, and actually I'm a biotechnologist. And during my master research, I made a drug for oral squamous cell carcinoma. It's a nanoparticle conjugated with anti-cancer drug for the cancer cells to hunt cancer cells, and it shows the remarkable results when it comes to targeting the cancer cells. So this is my point, that being a scratch scientist, a researcher, how can I approach the startups? How can I take this research to the market? Because this is just a preclinical studies, just trying on a cell lines, it shows remarkable results. But I want to go further. I know the steps is to go for PhD and do research and continue, but behind that, what are the steps to continue that? So this is my question, because I really want to take my research to the market.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you all for the questions. We have 5 minutes. Gentlemen, pick your favorite one. Which one can you relate to?
I could answer that question and that question. I could also maybe complement there, but I guess there's someone with more experience on the success and failure. So I would like to answer those 2.
Go ahead.
Do I go ahead? Okay, so methods for testing and validating the idea at the early stages in innovation. Test. And we test with questionnaires. So go out there, and make a very strategic set of questions that come up with the value. One of the first questions would be, would you pay for this? Do you understand what this is for? And I would say complement it with prototyping. Maybe, you can build a prototype quick and dirty, but sometimes you can even do like a paper demonstration, build it with, cardboard and say, okay, this is going to be a tool for, helping you, sit on stage, without your, would you use this one? Yes or no? Would you pay for it? Yes or no? And then continue the testing, do it with different variations of the product, and then you say, okay, this version, got 80% response, and 50% say they would pay. You're already then validating, okay, my idea has value. Yeah. So there are many other methods. So I would suggest you to, do a quick search on, validation methods, etc., and you will find a few resources. For your question, you're in a very particular industry, which is the biotech and pharma and biodrugs. There is almost already sort of a set path to go. So you started right. So first is the preclinical trials, then you go to the clinical trials, and then you go to, etc., until you go to post-market validation of the effects on the drugs. So depending on the country or the region, there are regulations and rules you have to follow. What you do is you submit a protocol of the testing for a clinical study. Those are usually costly because you need, patients and a hospital to help you. So keep those academic collaborations going, whether you're doing a PhD or not. And it's a biodrug, so I would suggest start talking already with industries or let's say a pharmaceutical company or some governmental agency that supports with, for example, grants to validate these studies further because it's very capital intensive. Then you can maybe do it parallel to your PhD studies, right? Maybe you get a grant that supports your PhD and runs the clinical study for you, and then write the clinical protocol for the next study phase and the next study phase. And if it's really, really, truly successful, then the impact will be carried on forward and then could be a commercial success. So that's what I have to say.
I want to say something. It's answer, but I want to say something as a social entrepreneur here because I'm not. He already answered about the tech entrepreneurship, but considering the words that you said from Pakistan and being a woman underrepresented probably in the industry, I want to, because there are a lot of young people here, because the whole purpose of XPANSE is to expand to the next generation, and so this is a little bit small, like a personal story. So I was born and brought up in Sri Lanka during a time that several people in our family were killed, shot dead. So majority of our family migrated to outside of Sri Lanka, and since the war was going for quite a long time, like 3 decades. So the longer the war, the younger the soldier. So when I was a teenager, along with my age category kids, about 10 years old, were forced to be a child soldier. And that is the moment that I have to run away from being Sri Lanka to, I ended up as in another country as a child refugee, away from home. So each one of us in our family ended up in different places. In that country where I ended up, there was literally no privilege. I was not allowed to go to school. I was almost homeless several times and so on. But still, all these barriers, I always found a way to learn something myself, find a solution around these, some form of a suppression or oppression and so on. You don't need I have a different academic background than what I do, like, biotech or nanotech. I always learn these things myself from the community, from the world. You don't need to have a PhD or any other MBA degree or something to be successful in a place where you are very much underrepresented. So that is something that I would say that I appreciate, that you build your courage and then go forward with whatever that takes. And quickly to answer this question, I think the answer is the same. Bad idea, good idea, or why they fail, it's because of execution. Idea is cheap, execution matters. Whether it's a good idea or bad idea that does not exist, companies fail because of execution.
100%. And I want to just add something to the questions that came from this corner. All right. Right. Unfortunately, we have to do that afterwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to continue much longer than this. The good news is we are all still around and you can have one-on-one conversations, but we don't want to take away from the next panel discussion. So please join me in giving our panelists for today a big, big hand. It's been a true honor. Thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of the event and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.